This episode is brought to you by Vineyard Boise Church's 10th annual Summer Movie Night. Join this free community party on July 14th. This year's movie is Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. The movie will play on a 40-foot globe screen after sundown, but the field opens at 8:30 p.m. for activities, including bounce houses, glow sticks, and concessions. This free event is in partnership with Future Public School, Go Team Therapy Dogs, R2L2 Country Dance, and more. So bring your own lawn chairs and blankets to 4950 North Bradley Street in Garden City. Learn more about the Vineyard Boise Church at vineyardboise.org. That's vineyardboise.org.
Today on CityCast Boise, housing keeps getting more expensive, and our once more affordable sister cities are now out of reach for many. But a new program in Caldwell could be a model for creating more affordable housing around the Treasure Valley. Mia Maldonado from the Idaho Capital Sun is here to tell us who qualifies for the program and how it could help first-time homebuyers. It's Wednesday, July 12th. I'm Emma Arnold, and this is what Boise's talking about. Hi, Mia. Thanks for being here again.
Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Are you loving this hot weather?
I am not, actually. I'm a North Idaho girl. I'm used to having a lake nearby. Here it's like, where do I go swim? But Boise's worth it.
Yeah, it is. Well, I want to talk to you about this article you recently wrote about the Caldwell Housing Authority. I want to start by asking, you lived in Caldwell while attending the College of Idaho. What do you love most about Caldwell?
Yeah, I had a really great experience living in Caldwell. I think it's very much a small town feel. It's just like an older town, rural town feel, and there's a lot of farm worker influence, a lot of agricultural influence, a lot of Latinos. So it was just a really fun experience living there. There's a lot of young families, and it definitely was really homey.
Would you buy a house there? Would you buy a house in Caldwell then?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I love Caldwell so much. I had such a good experience, and it's the food, the people, that rural town feel. And I'm not trying to go to downtown Boise every day. So I think there's also the houses in Caldwell are significantly cheaper than the houses in Boise. So I think for me, as someone that loves Caldwell, I would absolutely buy a house there.
Well, you share that love of Caldwell with our audio producer, Evelyn. So it's becoming a really popular place, too. So I really loved your article about the Caldwell Housing Authority. But for our listeners who maybe haven't heard of them, don't know what they do, who are they and what is their mission?
Yeah, so the Caldwell Housing Authority, they are a low-cost housing organization based out of their campus, Farmway Village, where they previously used to serve as a migrant labor camp during the Great Depression. And they've transformed that campus into low housing units for Canyon County families.
I had never heard of them or heard of the campus, which was really an interesting part of your article. And you talked about this opportunity that they're presenting to first-time homebuyers in Caldwell. What is this project that they're working on?
Yeah, so the Caldwell Housing Authority, they are able to purchase properties and renovate them and use them for affordable housing purposes. And so this new project, they bought a house really close to the College of Idaho. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, newly renovated. And instead of just selling it at full price, they are selling it below the market rates. It was recently appraised for $310,000, and instead they're selling it for $170,000. And they're doing that because Canyon County, it's a really rural area, and we're seeing a lot of new developments. And the Caldwell Housing Authority director really wants to make sure that the person that gets this house wants to plant roots here.
Yeah, you were talking about Caldwell being cheaper, but it's become so popular and way more expensive. It used to be kind of where a lot of first-time home buyers could buy. So people who would normally be able to afford Caldwell haven't really been able to in recent years. So would this first-time home buyer program be addressing that problem?
Absolutely, yeah. The cost of this house is close to the median cost of a house in Caldwell back in 2018. So, we see a lot of people in my generation, kind of fresh out of college that are living with roommates. And realistically, it's really hard for my generation to buy a house. And so this is kind of giving an opportunity to somebody that's, maybe early on in their career or that has lived in Caldwell to get that jump start. And it's really an equitable solution to the housing crisis here in the Treasure Valley.
So what are the benefits to having this in Caldwell? Like, why does Caldwell need this specifically?
Yes. So we all know the Treasure Valley is a growing area. And even though Caldwell housing prices are lower than cities in Boise, Meridian, Eagle, people living in Caldwell and Nampa have those cities have higher rates of poverty than other places in the Treasure Valley. So Mike Dittenber, the director of the Caldwell Housing Authority, really made sure this home was for somebody that he designed the home as if he were, wanting to live there. So this house is needed for this area that, the developments that are coming to Caldwell aren't for the longtime residents. They're for newer people coming in.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting part of your article, which I had no idea that 12% of the Caldwell population was living in poverty, which, CUNA, you say, is at 7%, Meridian at 6%, 6.8%, so almost 7%. I thought that was really interesting. And like you said, it said that they take these properties that are in poor shape and then they start improving it. But so who's eligible to apply for this program?
Yeah, Mike Dittenber, he intentionally made the application process extensive because he really wants somebody that's going to treat this house well and that's going to live in Caldwell for the long run to be living in this house. So yeah, you have to be a U.S. citizen or have legal permanent residency, and you have to have been a resident of the state of Idaho for the last 5 years. And also you have to be a first-time home buyer. And you have to have worked in Caldwell or the greater Caldwell area. So let's say you're living in Nampa, Notice. If you have been living in that area for the last 5 years, you have to be pre-approved by a lending institution for a mortgage and then have an annual household income of less than $87,000. And all the requirements are on the website. That's just kind of the rundown.
I was really fascinated in your article because we're talking about, Caldwell having a higher rate of poverty than the national average. And I'm assuming, and from what I read in your article, that probably has something to do with Canyon County having a ton of farm workers. And I'm wondering, what role does the Caldwell Housing Authority play in assisting and supporting Canyon County's farm workers?
Yeah, so the Caldwell Housing Authority, historically, it was one of only a few labor camps built by the federal government to provide housing to farm workers displaced by the Great Depression. It was a hub for migrants and people coming from Mexico, a lot of people through the Braceros program, which, we have a lot of, the federal government allowed Mexican workers to temporarily live and work in rural areas. And so the Caldwell Housing Authority played a big role in that. And now, even still, it houses, I believe, 400 migrant workers a year through the H-2A visa. And so I used to live at Caldwell Housing Authority, actually, during my senior year. It's called Farmway Village because, yes, you have housing units, you have families, you have playgrounds, and then you have the migrant workers on one side. And so, me and my roommates, we would go to the store. They have a little store at Farmway Village, and all the time the men would come after work, grab a few beers, and so many people coming from Mexico and Latin America to live at this place. And the farm worker community plays a really important role.
Yeah, it sounds like, it's such a unique program, I think. It seems so unique. And I'm wondering, does anywhere else in the Treasure Valley have anything like this? Or is it just kind of Caldwell?
Yeah, there are definitely some nonprofits that provide equitable housing solutions. I know the housing company, they're a nonprofit that I recently wrote a story on, and they They build brand new apartment complexes and they rent them out at an affordable rate. I also wrote an article last year about a housing with Leap Housing based in Boise. They're a nonprofit and they partnered with a local church previously to provide a brand new house for somebody to buy. And I know they have other housing projects for people that can buy houses at an affordable lower rate. So there are some similar organizations that do affordable housing projects, but a lot of it comes from the nonprofit sector. So seeing it come from a local government entity like the Caldwell Housing Authority is really unique.
Yeah. Do you think, I'm thinking of Twin Falls or Ketchum or, cities that also have these smaller cities that also have these big problems with housing. Do you think that this could be replicated in other areas?
I think that's definitely the goal of the Caldwell Housing Authority and the director, Mike Dittenberg. He had a really good quote in my story that was, what I really want to see happen is for developers who are getting rich to set aside 2 houses and do the same thing as us. And he said they may have to only spend 5 weeks in Cabo instead of 6 this winter, but you'll be doing something good for the community, especially to a community that really needs it.
Well, where can people go to find out more?
Yeah, so if you go to the Caldwell Housing Authority website, they have the affordable mortgage opportunities like right on their homepage, and you can click the link, and they have it in Spanish and English.
Oh, perfect.
They have a Spanish-speaking staff, so Mike also really encourages the Spanish-speaking community in Canyon County to look into this as well.
Well, Mia, such a great story, and we really appreciate your coverage of these kind of issues. So thank you so much, and come back anytime.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. Thanks so much for having me.
One more thing before we sign off. The ACLU of Idaho has released a report alleging that the dress code in Canyon County schools discriminates against Latino students and violates their civil rights. According to Boise State Public Radio, the report claims that unclear guidelines around so-called gang-related attire resulted in over-disciplining of Latino students in Nampa and Caldwell district schools, where Latino students were suspended at twice the rate of their white peers. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, why not send us a cute pic of your dog? We'll be back tomorrow morning with KTVB's Alex Duggan telling us about a recently solved Boise cold case. Bye.